Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another podcast of The Reckoning of Spiral Jackson. Want to thank you guys for listening. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experiences as a Uber and Lyft driver. We're going to be talking about ride sharing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about my experiences as both a driver and a rider and a few details that can help everybody in the future. If you do drive for Lyft or Uber, or you're thinking about doing any type of taxi service or ride sharing, this podcast is definitely for you. Also, if you are a passenger, which almost all of us either are or will be at some point in time, this is a good podcast to listen to. Um, this request actually comes from Junie Jones, asked me to talk about this, so that's what we'll be talking about today. So, let's have at it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, there are really only two major rideshare companies, but technically there are three. There's Uber, which is the biggest one. Uber is worldwide. There's Lyft, which is national in the United States. And then there's a lesser known rideshare company called Get Me. I have actually driven for all three. Get Me doesn't have very many patrons. Lyft has far more. It has almost as many as Uber, domestically that is. Uber, of course, has the most. Here's some positives about being a rideshare driver. Okay, first of all, you can work whenever you want to. Okay, there's no set 9 to 5 hours. You can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning after a night of binge drinking and having fun and say, you know what? I think I want to make some money. And it's an app. There are two apps. There's the Uber app, and then there's Uber Driver. Same with Lyft. There's the Lyft app, and there's Lyft Driver. Lyft Driver, of course, is for the people that work for Lyft. You go into the app, you turn online, and everybody using the counterpart of the app, that's how they request drivers. Now, unfortunately, something I don't like about Uber or Lyft is you can't actually request drivers personally. I drop off a lot of people who say, oh, how can I request you if I want you to pick me back up? And I have to tell them, unfortunately, well, you can't. Uber or Lyft, they don't work like that. Unfortunately, you just get who you get, who's in that area and who's closer. But it's very flexible, which is my point. You work whenever you want to work. You work whenever you can. Um, how many times have you worked a job and you put in like 60, 70 hours in some cases in one week, and you're like, goodness, I still got to wait over a week to get that paycheck? Well, with Lyft or Uber, you don't have that problem. If you drive around for 6 hours and you make like $100, you can cash out and get that $100 right there on the spot. Your payments are linked to your bank and are linked to your debit card, and you can just cash out anytime. Now, it costs about 50 cents to cash out every time you do it, but hey, if I was getting a $1,200 check and you're telling me I can get that money right now, but I'm only going to get $1,999 of it, then hey, I'm pretty sure any of us would take that option. So you can cash out anytime you want to. Instant money, pretty much. It's very flexible. And in some cases, you actually get to meet some very cool, very interesting, nice people. So those are the positives of it. Let's get to the negatives, ladies and gentlemen. So, the positives are there. Here are the negatives. You judge for yourself what outweighs what. If you're driving for Lyft or Uber, your car is gonna take a hit. And I mean that in more than one way. Okay? I had to fill up my tank every single day. And for those of you that know me personally, I drive a Toyota. They're usually good on gas. And I still have to fill it up every single day because I would drive about 500 miles in one day. When you drive a lot, not only do you wear down your tires, not only do you spend a lot of gas, not only do you need oil changes and whatnot, but also the more you stay on the road, the more you drive, the more you're at risk for getting ticket citations and being in an accident. You know, accidents, tickets, they're all statistical. Speeding tickets, for example. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's ever driven a car has sped in their life. Anybody who tells you they haven't, they're either lying or they forgot. But everybody speeds. But the ones that get caught are either the ones that are driving insanely fast, we're talking 90 and a 50, or they're the ones that speed the most. If you drive a lot, you're going to speed a lot. Just plain and simple. You know, when I drive for Lyft and Uber, I'm usually on the road 12 hours a day. At some point in time during that day, I'm probably speeding. Probably not crazily, you know. At times I might go 45 and a 30 or 40 and a 30 or 75 and a 65, something like that. And every now and then you get caught. You get pulled over. Now, if you get a cool cop, which is, well, you know, that's not for this video. It's not for this podcast. I won't get into that. But if you get a cool cop, they'll see that you're just doing your job. They'll just tell you, hey, slow down, obey the rules. I'm going to let you go with a warning. You know, have a nice night, okay? But, you know, we all know that's not always going to be the case. Especially around the holiday time. They're trying to fill their quotas. And if you give them a reason to pull you over, they'll pull you over in a heartbeat. So that is a negative about driving Uber. You drive so much that increases your likelihood of getting tickets and accidents. Also, depending on when you drive, or not really even depending on when you drive or where you drive, there's going to be traffic sometimes. You know, you got the 5 o'clock traffic and the 8 o'clock traffic. You know, 8 o'clock is the morning traffic, 5 o'clock is the evening traffic. And I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but whether I'm a passenger or a driver, I hate to be stuck in traffic. Another big negative about driving for Uber and Lyft is people have this negative perception about Uber and Lyft drivers for basically one big reason, and that's lack of communication, lack of correct knowledge. Let me tell you guys something, ladies and gentlemen. For every 100 stories you've heard about an Uber or Lyft driver doing something wrong or inappropriate or illegal, out of the 100 times you've heard that, maybe only about 2 or 3 times have those actually been Uber or Lyft drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what's happening. People are leaving clubs and parties highly intoxicated, or in some cases just high, or in some cases just not alert, not very bright. And they're getting in the first car they see that looks appeasing. There are a lot of people out there driving on Friday and Saturday nights that aren't Uber drivers. There are people that have bought Uber and Lyft stickers off Amazon, because anybody can buy Uber and Lyft stickers off Amazon. Anybody. You don't have to be a rideshare driver. They're putting them on their car and they're driving around saying, hey, you Sarah, hey, you Brittany, hey, you need a ride? And, you know, you're not thinking that late at night. You're getting in your car without checking the license plate, without asking for their name, without them saying your correct name. You're just hopping in their car and, well, that's how all those things are happening. I'm not saying no Uber or Lyft drivers ever do any shady stuff. I'm not saying that, you know, all those rapes and lies are false, but a lot of them are erroneous. Usually it's because people aren't doing their due diligence and checking to see if they're getting in the right car. And as a result, when people get in my car, I always get this negative pre-notion where people are like kind of scared of me. You know, they're like, if I miss a turn accidentally, they're like, hey, where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? And they're, you know, it's not just, oh, you missed the turn, it was back there. It's more like, okay, what's happening? What's happening right now? Do I need to call the police? You know, are you going to take me somewhere to dump my body? And it's like, goodness, calm down. And that kind of ties into another really bad negative of driving with Uber and Lyft. Just like you meet a lot of cool people, you meet a lot of crappy people too. A lot of people will get in your car high. I'm talking smelling of marijuana or cigarettes. And I don't know if you guys know this, especially if you smoke a lot of cigarettes and marijuana, but when you get in somebody's car like that, when you leave, it lingers in their car. Oftentimes, I have to spray air freshener and drive with the windows down for like 5 minutes for that stuff to dissipate. And then it's still not fully gone. And then people will get in the car drunk, and an Uber driver's worst nightmare. Well, second worst nightmare. The worst nightmare would be getting killed by one of his passengers. But one of the Uber driver's worst nightmare is for a passenger to throw up in our car. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you throw up in our car, we're going to take pictures of the vomit. We're going to send it to Uber and Lyft, and they're going to charge you $150. And that $150 goes directly to us. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. It's not worth it. Instead of getting $150, I'd rather you just throw up before you got into my car. Oh, because goodness gracious. Some of y'all are just a hassle. And then you always get the people that take things a little too far, you know. But I'll get into that in a second. I'm going to talk about rider and driver etiquette right now. Let's start with driver etiquette, okay? Okay, if you do decide to drive for Lyft or Uber, or you already do, few things you need to understand. One, and some of these driver etiquette and passenger etiquettes, they're going to be the same because respect is a two-way street. One, read the room. Not all your passengers want to talk to you. Sometimes they just want you to get them from point A to point B. And those are the best passengers, I say. The ones that just want to hop in your car and they want you to safely get them to where they're going. They may not want to hear about how your day was. They may not want to talk about theirs. They may not want to talk at all. Or maybe they do. You know, kind of read them. If you say hi and then they have their head down and they're texting on their phone, pay attention to that. You know, don't try to talk to them. You know, don't get too personal when you do talk. Maybe somebody's having a good conversation with you and they just want to chit chat about a movie or a sports team or how the weather is. They don't want to talk about their kids or their boyfriend or girlfriend or, you know, their family situation, you know. You know, just make sure you really don't get personal, drivers. Also, there are a lot of dumb people on the road. Make sure you're not one of them. If somebody cuts you off or does something dumb, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you are not in that car alone. It's going to look really bad, and in some cases, it's going to be very frightening to your passenger if you have road rage while you're driving. So, keep it in your head, maybe let out a little sigh, and just keep on moving. Or don't in some cases, maybe you need to stop. Don't eat or drink in front of your passengers because it's just rude, you know. Don't burp or fart while you have a passenger in the car. Feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I'm going to say the same thing when we get to passenger etiquette. This goes without saying too, but make sure you're a safe driver. Drive very safely. Go the speed limit or within 5 miles of it. I would say 10, but you know, they'll pull you over for that too. And when you drop your passenger off, always say, have a great whatever. Have a great day, have a great night, have a great evening, have a great flight, have a safe trip, you know. You always want to say things like that because it's just polite. Simple etiquette. Follow these rules, I promise you, you can't go wrong. Now, some of you using the Uber or Lyft passenger app, those of you getting rides, let's get on you guys. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you may notice that the list for passenger etiquette is substantially larger than what I said for drivers. Okay, I know it's hard, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes in society to deal with other people. I know sometimes some of you are just very nice people. You're very nice people and you're in a very good mood and you want to spread that joy around. And I get that. But shut up. Like, same etiquette for drivers. Read the room, don't get personal. Don't get in a driver's car and start asking them a bunch of questions. I'm going to tell you, recently, when I've driven people around, I haven't felt like talking. Basically, it's because of my atypical depression that I'm dealing with. Sometimes you get in the car, I don't really feel like talking. If I say, hey, how you doing? And you say, good. And hey, you been driving for a while? Not really. Like, hey, how long you been doing this? A while. Like, yeah, you got another side job? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what do you do? Look, you should be able to tell from the way I'm answering your questions that I don't feel like talking. And when I talk about personal questions, some people think, well, what exactly is the personal questions? Because things like, hey, do you have kids? Do you have a girlfriend? Are you married? Some people don't consider those personal questions, but they are. Here's another question that's kind of personal, or at least I consider it personal. When you ask me, hey, is this the only job you have, or do you have another job? I consider that a personal question because if I wanted you to know about my other job, I would talk to you about my other job. And why does it matter if I have another job? The only thing you should be concerned about is the fact that you have a ride from where you were to where you're going. Okay? That's it. So if you want to chit chat, if you want to talk to your Uber driver, talk about a movie you saw that you liked. Talk about a musician you like. Talk about a play you saw. Talk about your favorite sports team, something going on there. Or if you want to get personal, just get personal with yourself. Talk about your kids. Talk about your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend. Talk about your job. Because it's okay for you to share personal information. It is not okay for you to try to ask personal information to somebody else, especially somebody you don't even know. Also, speaking of not knowing, when your Uber driver comes, sit in the back all the time. Don't just get in the car. Don't just get in the front seat. Because me personally, I'm a big guy. I like my space. I don't like people riding right next to me. So if I can help it, I want all my passengers to get in the back. If you have a situation where sometimes you get car sick, or sometimes you have two people riding with you, then maybe you might need to sit in the front. Ask the driver if they're okay with it first. Don't just hop in. Hey, is it cool if I sit in the front? Where you want me, front or the back? Just ask that question. And same with passengers. Don't eat or drink. See, when I told the driver not to eat or drink, it's because it's rude to eat or drink in front of people. But if you're the passenger, it's rude to eat or drink in somebody else's car. If it's not your car, you can't act like it is. You can't just pull out a burger and start snacking or, pop a soda or something. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you are, I think it might be everywhere. But in the state of Texas and the state of California, it's illegal to drive with an open container of alcohol. So don't even ask your driver if it's okay for you to bring an open beer or a cocktail into their car. Don't put them in that situation. If it's illegal, if it's against the law, don't ask. Finish your beer, your drink before you get into the car. Okay? Same as the driver. Don't burp or fart in the driver's car. Once again, feel like I shouldn't have to say that. Don't smoke. And I'm not just talking about in the car. Don't smoke right before you hop into the car. Either wait till you're out of the Uber driver's car to smoke the cigarette, or smoke one like 30 minutes before the Uber driver or Lyft driver picks you up. Because those of you guys that are smoking cigarettes as we come to pick you up, and you put it out right before you get into the car, I know you guys can't smell it, but that scent, that cigarette smoke, it is strong, ladies and gentlemen. Super strong. So please watch that. Don't talk on the phone in somebody else's car. I know that sounds weird. Hey, it's my phone. I'll do what I want with it. Yeah, but here's the thing. You're in somebody else's car, and that might annoy the crap out of them. At least say, hey, somebody's calling me. I got to take this. Is that cool? And if they say yes, that's fine. Or maybe simple as, sorry, I have to take this. That'll be cool. But don't just randomly pull your phone out and start talking on it. Maybe the Uber driver is listening to some music. Maybe he's jamming out, and your song's messing with his music. That's actually kind of rude. These are all things that you need to know because a lot of Uber passengers, they don't get this. Also, speaking of music, if you want to listen to something, maybe the Uber driver doesn't even have music on. If you want them to play music, ask nicely. Say, hey, you mind if we turn on some music? Or hey, you mind if we do this? This is another thing that really annoys me, but if you want to charge your phone, don't act like you have a right to. You know, get in there. Hey, my phone's dying. You have an Android charger I could use, please? Or hey, would you happen to have an iPhone charger? I'm sorry, my phone's dying. Just because you paid for the Uber, that doesn't entitle you to everything in the Uber. So if you want something, ask nicely. Pardon me, you mind turning on a little bit of heat? Hey, would you mind turning on the air condition, please? Just ask nicely. An Uber driver will give you anything you want, almost anything you want, if you just know how to ask for it. Also, if you have a certain situation, a particular situation that seems a little abnormal, text the driver beforehand and let them know about it. Maybe you're a handicapped person with a wheelchair or a walker. Text them and say, hey, I got a walker or a wheelchair. Is that okay? Because here's the thing. We're Uber drivers. We're not ambulances. We're not hospital transport places. We're not always set up to deal with that. Like for instance, my car is kind of small. I can fit a wheelchair in there, but barely. A lot of elderly people, they may need help getting in the car. Well, we're not caregivers. We're not nurses. We're not set up for that. But at least if you text us beforehand and let us know something like that, we can have it in our mind and we can prepare for it. It's the same if you have like 2 or 3 people riding with you. Well, if you have 2 or 3 people riding with you, what that tells the driver is, oh, well, one person's going to have to sit in the front, it looks like. And like I've already stated, I don't like people sitting in the front. But obviously, if you have 3 people riding with you, there's no choice. There's going to have to be somebody riding shotgun. Another thing that really bothers me, if you have ordered an Uber for somebody else, if you're not going to be the one riding in the freaking car, text us and let us know that. Because we're driving around saying, Cindy, 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 where are you? And you ordered it for your friend Bubba. I mean, that throws us off. Also, come up to the car and ask if they're the driver. Don't just see the car and grab their door handle. Goodness, can't tell you how much that bothers me. Also, I have a sedan, and most Uber drivers do. Don't bring any more than 3 people into that car. Uber drivers, we hate when you try to pile 5 or 6 people into our car. Not only is that against the law, because unless we have like a minivan, in some cases not even then, can we fit that many people in the car? You have to have seatbelts for that. But also, if you pile a bunch of people into the car, it messes with our suspension. It crowds our space, it crowds our view. It's just a bad thing. I know this is something you don't think about because it's not your car, but be mindful of it. Simple etiquette. All right, I think that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of my longer podcasts because I've had a lot to say about this, but I hope you guys learned a lot about Uber. I hope you guys learned a lot about Uber and Lyft. I hope you guys are going to be thinking about these things the next time you order a rideshare or you think about driving for one. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys very much for watching this podcast of The Reckoning of Spiral Jackson. It's Hanukkah. So, happy Hanukkah, everybody. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen.